What's happening, guys? There was no shortage of NFL teams who failed to reach their lofty expectations in 2019. But this is football, where teams are always going to endure some bad bounces and unlucky breaks that cost them dearly. Well, the luck has to balance out eventually. These 8 NFL teams who disappointed tremendously last season should manage to bounce back here in 2020. So let's get right into it. Number 8, Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons got off to an ugly 1-7 start last season. Head coach Dan Quinn and GM Thomas Dimitroff looked finished, but Quinn never gave up. He made several in-season changes to his coaching staff, and the results were brilliant. Atlanta caught fire in the second half, winning 6 of their final 8 games, including their final 4 contests, to finish 7-9. They scored mega road upsets against the New Orleans Saints and San Francisco 49ers, 2 of the top powerhouses in the NFC. Quinn's decision to move Raheem Morris into the secondary coaching role was pure genius. Quinn liked what he saw so much that he opted to make Morris his defensive coordinator for the 2020 season. The Falcons will always field one of the best offenses in football as long as Matt Ryan and Julio Jones are leading the way. Matty Ice is still an MVP caliber quarterback, and he shouldn't miss a beat even with Austin Hooper gone. Newcomer Hayden Hurst is a fine replacement at tight end. Jones and Calvin Ridley might be the best receiving duo in football. We love the low-risk, high-reward signing of Todd Gurley. He's at least an upgrade over Devontae Freeman. Don't forget Gurley still had 12 rushing touchdowns last year, despite playing behind a brutal Los Angeles Rams O-line. We all know that the Falcons can score points, but the defense has to at least go from awful to mediocre or merely average if they want to vie for a playoff spot. The Falcons brought in stud pass rusher Dante Fowler Jr. to complement Grady Jarrett. Fowler should be an upgrade over Vic Beasley in the front 7. Rookie cornerback A.J. Terrell is an upgrade over just about any other corner Atlanta has used in recent years too. If Keanu Neal and Deion Jones can stay healthy, now you're talking about a potential top 10 defense here. Don't be overly shocked if the Falcons build off their 2019 second half momentum and sneak back into the postseason in 2020. Number 7, Chicago Bears. The Bears were one of the NFL's biggest disappointments in 2019. They went from 12 wins and an NFC North Division crown to an 8-8 record. Mitch Trubisky's frustrating play and minor regression from the defense led to a dismal year. Things have to change. The Bears wisely traded for Super Bowl 52 MVP Nick Foles, who should take over as the starter at some point, unless Trubisky finally puts it together. The defense slipped last season, but they still allowed the 4th fewest points at 18.6 per game. Khalil Mack should rebound from a down year too, and with Eddie Jackson patrolling a deep secondary, you can expect the Bears defense to be one of the NFL's best again in 2020. Allen Robinson is coming off a 1,000-yard season. David Montgomery should hit over 1,000 rushing yards if Matt Nagy uses him accordingly. So the playmakers are there on offense. The Bears just need Foles or Trubisky to play like a game manager. The rushing game and defense will do the rest. And the Bears do play in a wide-open NFC North. The Minnesota Vikings and Green Bay Packers each lost key contributors from 2019, so the opportunity is there for the Bears to take back the division in 2020, or at least grab a wildcard spot. Number 6, Cleveland Browns. The Browns were the off-season media darlings last year. We all know how that played out though. Honestly, I'm so torn on this club in 2020. Like, will the Browns pull off a classic Browns move and flop entirely, or will the new coaching staff lead to a big-time bounce-back year? This is Kevin Stefanski's first NFL head coaching gig. Thing is, he can't be any worse than Freddie Kitchens, who was way in over his head as the Browns coach. Stefanski helped Kirk Cousins enjoy a superb turnaround season in Minnesota. He should be able to do the same with Baker Mayfield, who's arguably a better quarterback than Cousins anyway. If Stefanski can do good things with Cousins, Dalvin Cook, Stephon Diggs, and Adam Thielen, just think about what he'll do with Mayfield, Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham Jr., and Nick Chubb. Not to mention all the other weapons he has, like Austin Hooper, David Njoku, Harrison Bryant, and Kareem Hunt. The offensive line was atrocious last year, but free agent pickup Jack Conklin and rookie Jedrick Wills Jr. should change that. Adding everything up, and the Browns offense should finally live up to its potential and be a top 5 or 10 unit in 2020. The defense leaves a lot to be desired, but at least they have 2 game changers to build around in Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward, and of course the addition of an extra playoff spot will help the Browns. They should have no problem winning at least 8 or 9 games, and that just might be enough to qualify for the postseason in the AFC this time around. Number 5, Los Angeles Chargers. No way the Chargers win 5 games again in 2020. They're simply too talented to struggle that mightily again, as tough as it was on an emotional level. Moving on from Phillip Rivers was the right call. It was time. Anthony Lynn will now rely on veteran Tyrod Taylor and rookie Justin Herbert to lead the offense. There is no shortage of dynamic playmakers on this offense, Keenan Allen is one of the NFL's elite wide receivers. Mike Williams is still the perfect sidekick to Allen. Hunter Henry should break out if he stays healthy. And Austin Eckler is a machine out of the backfield, nearly reaching 1,000 receiving yards last season. Taylor and Herbert come with question marks here, but whoever's the starting QB, they should be able to make it work with this star-studded supporting cast. As for the defensive side of the ball, that's the real reason the Chargers make this list. They have arguably the best secondary in the league, with 4 Pro Bowlers in Derwin James, Desmond King, Casey Hayward, and newcomer Chris Harris Jr. The latter will be moved back into his natural slot position, so expect a bounce-back year for Harris after a frustrating 2019 campaign in Denver. The pass rush is anchored by superstars Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram. From top to bottom, this is one of the deepest and most talented defenses ever. If they can live up to their full potential, the Chargers will be in playoff contention, no doubt about it. But it's mainly going to come down to how the quarterbacks play. If Taylor or Herbert can just play at an above-average level, the Chargers will have no problem hitting double-digit wins in 2020. Number 4, Los Angeles Rams. The Rams were also among the most disappointing teams in football last season, and yet despite numerous injuries to key players as well as having to share a division with 2 NFC heavyweights, the Rams finished with a respectable 9-7 record. Not as good as the year before, but you know what I'm saying. Losing Brandon Cooks and Todd Gurley hurts, no doubt, but the 2018 NFC champions still have more than enough playmakers. Jared Goff will continue to rack up the stats with Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods, one of the league's top receiving duos. Tight end Tyler Higbee, who recorded 734 receiving yards last year, will also be heavily featured in this offense. And the rushing game should do just fine with rookie Cam Akers joining Malcolm Brown and Darrell Henderson. Lots of depth there, so they'll be fine. The Rams offense finished a respectable 11th in scoring last year. They should be near the top 10 again in 2020. And the defense, by the way, features arguably the league's best player in Aaron Donald and a premier cornerback in Jalen Ramsey. Those two can make up for the other weaknesses within that unit, with superstar talent on both sides of the ball and a savvy head coach in Sean McVay. The Rams can certainly make a run at the NFC West crown again, and a wildcard spot is absolutely within reach. Number 3, Pittsburgh Steelers. This team finished with an 8-8 record without its starting quarterback for the final 14 games. When Ben Roethlisberger suffered a season-ending elbow injury in Week 2, everybody thought the season was over in Steeltown. Nope. Mike Tomlin rallied his group following an 0-3 start and kept the Steelers in playoff contention, thanks to a nasty and ferocious defense led by pass-rushing phenom TJ Watt. Backup quarterbacks Mason Rudolph and Devlin Duck Hodges played very poorly throughout the season. Running back James Conner and star wideout Juju Smith-Schuster also endured frustrating and unproductive 2019 campaigns. And yet Tomlin got 8 wins out of this group. They were in the running for a wild card spot before dropping their final 3 games. Still, it wasn't hard for Steelers fans to not be pleased with this team's overall effort despite the early season adversity. Well, Big Ben is now healthy and ready to play again. He alone will always give the Steelers a chance. You know Connor and Juju are in line for bounce-back seasons too, and both James Washington and Deontay Johnson are looking like obvious breakout candidates. Oh, and did we mention how dominant that defense is? They led the NFL with 54 sacks last season. They were 5th in scoring. Yeah, as long as Ben is healthy, the Steelers should be right back in the postseason. Number 2, Indianapolis Colts. Like the Steelers, the Colts would have likely made the playoffs if they had their starting quarterback in 2019. Andrew Luck decided to retire just a couple of weeks before the regular season started, which was his choice, and we totally respect it because it's probably not easy being an NFL starter, especially for one of the most beloved franchises in the league. It left the Colts no choice but to roll with backup Jacoby Brissett, who wasn't able to find any consistency whatsoever. Knowing that they needed a quarterback upgrade, the Colts signed former Chargers starter Phillip Rivers to a 1-year deal in the offseason, reuniting him with Frank Reich, his former quarterbacks coach and offensive coordinator. Rivers' struggles in 2019 can be attributed to a woeful offensive line. The Colts O-line, led by Quentin Nelson, was ranked number 3 by Pro Football Focus last season. This group alone will help Rivers enjoy a big-time bounce-back year. He's got no shortage of weapons, including T.Y. Hilton, Pyrus Campbell, Michael Pittman Jr., Zach Pascal, Marlon Mack, and Jonathan Taylor. As for the defense, they added a stud pass rusher in DeForest Buckner, who should form quite the front 7 with fellow superstar Darius Leonard and veteran Justin Houston. The Colts are by far the deepest and most talented team in the AFC South. They have a savvy front office, a brilliant offensive-minded head coach, and an excellent core with a mix of veterans and young stars. Add it all up, and the Colts should be considered the favorite to bounce back and win their division. Number 1, Dallas Cowboys. America's team falls short of expectations practically every year. We've doubted them for years and years. But now, the cold, hard truth for Cowboys haters is that this team has the makings to be a true Super Bowl contender in 2020. They do. They really, I truly believe it's possible. I think we all do. For starters, the Cowboys will no longer consistently underachieve under Jason Garrett, who was let go about 7 years too late. They replaced him with Super Bowl winning head coach Mike McCarthy, the same man who oversaw the development of Aaron Rodgers and took Green Bay to 4 NFC Championship games. The coaching change itself provides a reason for optimism in Dallas. But wait, the Cowboys also drafted superstar wideout CD Lamb with the number 17 pick. And just like that, the Cowboys have perhaps the best receiving trio in the NFL. Not to mention the Cowboys have a star quarterback in Dak Prescott and arguably the NFL's best running back in Ezekiel Elliott. The O-line is still a dominant unit, and that defense is better than you think. Jalen Smith, Leighton Vander Esch, and DeMarcus Lawrence round out a stout front seven. Seriously, there are no major weaknesses on the Cowboys. They are loaded on offense, with an above-average defense and a proven Super Bowl winning coach. They also play in football's worst division. Not only will the Cowboys make the playoffs in 2020, but they have the pieces in place to go on a deep run. Yeah, we said it. They won't be a laughingstock anymore, hopefully. But they mean business now with Coach McCarthy there. So, we'll see what happens. Which NFL team do you think is most likely to bounce back in 2020? Join me in the comment section below. Follow myself and TPS on social media. We post great content all the time. YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, we are on everything. Go find us, go follow us, go subscribe, do everything. Subscribe to TPS right down below that red button. If you've never hit that button before for any channel, do it right now, because we would be honored to be your first subscribe. You're the best. Also, if you haven't liked anything ever, like our video, because we would be honored to be your first like. That'd be really cool, and we'd have that bond forever. So, cheers. Of course, thank you so much for watching. I'm Jason Biondo. What was the injury?
My knee.